for joining us again. Today we're going to take on one, Jared, that my brother made some comments about in between text messages about Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
His fucking singing
Once
career.
he took 5 minutes off YouTube,
Yeah.
scouring for every Corey Feldman musical performance he could find.
Correct. Which gathered a lot of laughs during that period.
Absolutely.
Just a side note, is that current?
Yeah.
Because he's
for
still
it.
going for the Michael Jackson curl at the front of his
the
hair.
Comeback King was about 6 months ago, wasn't it?
So, clearly it didn't do its job.
No.
It sort of come back anywhere.
No, he hasn't come back anywhere.
I believe one of his lyrical lines was, "I stand my ground, I gotta walk away."
I've got to stand my ground, got to walk away.
That's contradictory.
Which one? Which one, Corey?
Yeah.
Pick one. Pick a stick, mate.
Corey's gone off the fucking reservation, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's gone fucking Burko.
Yeah.
Less said about Corey
But
than
yeah,
better.
do yourself a favour. Right next to Vin Diesel for acting musicians.
Oh, yeah, right up there. Definitely. I mean, has Vin Diesel had an entire baseball club fucking apologise for having him there? Because until he's done that, he's clearly not top of the pile.
Vin was somewhat coy about his musical exploits.
You know what I think? Vin's like the gorillas. He's not real. He doesn't do actual gigs.
No.
He does virtual gigs.
I think so.
I'd say.
And does them when he's asked to do them.
Yeah, correct. He's not fronting up with a full like a full suite of gear to get out and they wonder what you're doing. We just wanted you to sign some autographs.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so today's episode is the new Wes Craven's New Nightmare. My brother made an extremely a rough call. When I believe his message was it why what is the worst Nightmare on Elm Street film and why is it New Nightmare?
No, that was about a Hellraiser.
Oh, well.
I think it was more succinct. I think it just said, rewatch New Nightmare, piece of shit. Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
All right.
He's a man of
Care to
few words. He didn't give some elaboration on it, but I thoroughly disagreed immediately. I said, no,
Yeah.
what are you on? I mean, I gave
Yeah.
Freddy's Dead 0.
You and Corey have been on something together, I think.
But Luke was pretty adamant, I believe, about this, so we decided we'd have another look.
Yep.
See if perhaps we got it wrong. Right, so it's New Nightmare. This is the episode New Nightmare. Okay, before we get to that, what have you been watching? Anything?
Not a great deal.
Mine's been slim as well. I've been slim.
Couple of entries.
I was hoping to go see Cocaine Bear.
Yeah.
But I might do it later in the week.
Yeah, unfortunately I've heard it's not very good.
No, I heard it was
so
alright.
that's unfortunate. I watched From Beyond.
Oh, yeah.
I've been sniffing around for a while.
That's a weird unit.
Charlie
that
Baird,
movie.
that sort of crew.
That is a weird movie, that.
It is a bit odd. I mean, it was alright. Entertaining enough, but yeah, fucking... There's lots going on. lot to process. Lot to unpack.
Oh, shit, yeah. Isn't that all about the fucking pituitary gland and all this sort of shit?
Yeah,
Weird.
one of the glands. And I think I felt like I needed to sit down and talk to somebody afterwards.
Wasn't there some erotica and shit in
A
it
little bit
too?
of that. Yeah, a little bit of that. Bordering on smut at times.
Yeah, strange film. Strange.
But yeah, it was interesting enough to see. Outside that, I spent a bit of time... More TV time. Tales from the Territories, still working my way through that. A couple of really good episodes. There was one on the Hart family, essentially, the wrestling that they used to run in Canada, which contains numerous very amusing impersonations of Bret Hart's dad, the majority of them coming from Bret Hart himself. But yeah, Bret Hart was excellent in that episode. He comes across really well, and yeah, quite enjoying it. I don't know how much legs this has got. I could see it being a one-season thing. Once they kind of go over the territories, because all the big stories they kind of touched on in Dark Side of the Ring anyway. So,
yeah.
But we'll see. It's entertaining for now. And the other one was Wreck. I am up to the second last episode.
Where are you watching that on? Because I couldn't find it.
iView. ABC.
My sources have
let you down.
They have.
Fuck. Yeah, it's enjoyable enough. It's not. It's more. I think it's kind of more venturing into a little bit of drama, sort of comedy,
as
necessarily
opposed to
than the slasher.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it. I think it's pretty good fun. I could have done with a little more gore in it, but I guess the TV slashers are not necessarily known for ramping it up in that sense. So I guess I'll just enjoy this one for what it is and hold on for the next season of Slasher. So to get my gore fix.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Slashers managed to get that done pretty well. Also, may get a few laughs out of David Cronenberg's performances.
Correct.
That sort of shit. So, agreed. I want to check this one out. But you've tempered me just a smidge.
Yeah. I would say go in with the expectations that it's not bad, but it's probably not gonna hit any home runs for anyone. But yeah, enjoying it for what it is.
Okay.
And the comedy does hit a few times. There's a few laughs in there, especially from one of the blokes, the big kind of buff-head bloke in there. It's pretty funny.
No. That's everything?
That was it.
No. Mine was very short too. I started Drive to Survive, Season 5, on Netflix. I cannot stop laughing at there's one of the team principals. He's a German, or his name's Gunther. And they just constantly cut to him and he just goes, fuck! They just cut back to the action. Like he's constantly got issues.
Which works
with
for
something.
me.
It does. I love it.
I see they've tried to recapture the same sort of thing with a golf doc over the series.
I was going to say, as I said to my wife yesterday, I said, what the difference between tennis, golf and Formula 1 is high octane.
Yeah.
You don't have that.
Imagine she's a touch slower.
So, the fast cars, if you're chopping it up into 40-minute episodes, that shit works a treat.
Yeah.
I don't need to see a guy going pin high. I'm not going to get excited about it.
I can't imagine that everyone quiet, and then cutting to someone going, fuck, and then back onto the course having the same sort of impact.
No, not at all. So I started that, and Jared, after you sent me a bloody disgusting article that told me the 5 best Bigfoot pictures.
It almost sounded like they'd been listening to us and kind of responded with an article, Adam.
I said, these two fucking bozos need to... we better just give them something. There was a couple on the list that are a bit old, I noticed.
Boggy Creek.
And Boggy Creek and Night of... I can't remember the...
Night of the Demon.
Demon, that's it. They're old and probably very difficult to find, I think. I'd seen one on there called Exists, which is a found footage one.
Yep.
Which, as I said, had some really good moments. And the found footage works a lot with Bigfoot. You kind of see him lurking in the, just off, the camera sweeps and then there he is.
Unless it's the Lost Coast tapes and there's no Bigfoot in there.
Oh, yeah, that's always problematic. But as the film goes along, it fucking gets out of hand. So I decided to jump on Abominable, which was on YouTube, with some Greek subtitles. So
I can handle that.
I was double handling, so to speak. It was all right.
Yep.
It was all right.
I better get on there.
It was more what I would have expected. Of that type of film.
Yep.
It had a pretty good cast. Lance Henriksen was in there. Jeffrey Combs was in there. The guy who plays Jackie Childs from Seinfeld. So I was expecting, this man turned this man into a wretched, twisted freak.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be only natural for Jackie to cash in on Bigfoot's wretched disfigurement.
And it did sort of look like they'd only had the actors for short stints. They also had Dwayne T. Robinson from Die Hard as the sheriff, who pronounces in the film, I'm going to go hit the head. I'm about to give birth to a monster. I was like, yep. That's why you hire him. Good. He just lives the line like that so well. Like, I truly believed he was going to go shit.
Yep.
But overall, I would say to people, that's one to check out if you're a Sasquatch guy.
Because the whole Sasquatch thing has become like... It's almost like one of those things that's hit... when you get a famous character that's hit public domain and people go nuts on it. Well, Sasquatch, obviously, there's never an ownership on that, so it's kind of like that. Every person with fucking a camera and $500 is making a Bigfoot movie. But you'd think there would be a better strike rate. There might be one or two good ones. But I just haven't found them.
Why can't a filmmaker of some quality get us a Sasquatch film.
Well,
The whole fucking thing.
I think you've just answered your own question.
As soon as I said Sasquatch.
That's what it is. Sasquatch. Oh, sorry, yeah. No, but
okay, why can't a second tier film get us a Sasquatch?
Well,
figure?
you hear that idea that they had for the Van Damme flick, and I thought to myself, that wouldn't be too bad as a fucking cheap little action flick. I think someone like Blumhouse could do
something with Sasquatch.
You get someone with a fucking reasonable idea to toss something out there, but yeah, I don't know. Just
I would say spend some time on YouTube. You can get Abominable will give you
good
decent time. I think
I'll get on
time. Yeah, it's kind of Rear Window with Bigfoot. Holy shit.
They're talking about selling it. Talking about the elevator pitch. Busting in to an executive and saying, hey, shit, I just got a couple of minutes of your time. How does Rear Window with Bigfoot sound? Get the fuck out.
Yeah, all right.
What about Die Hard with Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Oh, Bigfoot's the problem, you tell me. Oh, okay, fuck. All right, I'll work with something else.
All right, let's take a break. Here's the trailer for 1994's Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
After 10 years, Wes Craven, the man who brought you your most frightening nightmare, returns at last with a terrifying new twist on horror. The critics are calling it the best nightmare ever. Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Miss me?
Wes Craven's New Nightmare from 1994. Written and directed by Wes Craven, who gave us My Soul to Take. And produced by Marianne Maddalena, who produced Cursed.
Can't believe you did him dirty like that. Fucking out of all the things you could pick.
We all know he did Scream.
I mean, you could have said Vampire in Brooklyn.
I could have said fucking Deadly Friend, Deadly Blessing. Holy shit. Let's not talk about that. It stars Heather Langenkamp as Heather Langenkamp, Mako Hughes as Dylan, David Newsom as Chase Porter, Tracy Middendorf as Julie, and Robert Englund as Robert Englund / Freddy Krueger.
And according to the credits, Freddy Krueger as himself at one point.
Yeah, look, so we got two meta there. The budget was $8 million. The box office was $19 million. Director Wes Craven had intended to ask Johnny Depp to make an appearance as himself in the funeral scene. Craven never worked up the courage to ask him, but after the film's release they ran into each other. Craven asked Depp if he would have made an appearance, and Depp said he would have. But Craven should have asked him. This was pre someone shitting in his bed.
And all that sort of business.
So yeah, Johnny was flying high at this stage, I think. Now I don't think I'd ask him.
Unless he was playing Freddy.
All right, Jared. Luke gave us pretty much a small sketch of what he thought. It was shit.
Yeah.
Shit.
Elaborated, very,
Limited elaboration, but said it was shit.
Piece of shit.
Yeah. Where do you stand?
Luke's wrong. I'll put it that way. I'd like to sit down and have a beer with him.
Sounds good.
Talk this side out.
Sounds about right.
Because I'm sure he'd have some thoughts. And, as is Luke's way, after one or two beers, I'd probably be sitting there going, "Jeez, maybe it is shit."
Yeah, it's about everything.
And then I'd snap back to reality and go, no. You don't know what you're talking about.
How'd you feel?
I think it's very good. At the time, nothing was going on like this. So, as a way to bring Freddy back, it was a fucking fantastic idea. And I think some of the ideas around censorship and the impacts of this stuff on kids and the people that make the movies and stuff like that are really well explored. Some of them are really well explored.
Yes, agree.
And the real life stuff actually adds some weight to a lot of it. I think it could have gone a little further, and there's a few issues around the impacts on certain people and a couple of things about Freddy that I'm sure we'll discuss at length.
Oh yeah.
But it seems like a prototype for what came after. It seems like, you watch it now and you're like, it's almost like the prototype for him going into Scream and kind of ironing out some of the stuff or going a bit further with certain things, and so I ended up at a 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah, I think it's very, very well worthwhile. I would go as far to say I'd probably say clearly one of the top 3 in the series.
Oh,
I don't think you could sway me on that unless, after 2 beers Luke's got me thinking Freddy's Dead is the best one or something.
Yeah. Look, for me, to me, if I'd have just seen Freddy's Dead, there is nowhere to go with Freddy. So to find this type of film that goes kind of meta and different, outside of the box of what Freddy was is a breath of fresh air for the franchise. Let's be honest. And for the most part, succeeds in what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
Which is difficult, considering it is quite dense in terms of plotting. But overall, I think they get a lot of it right. It's the end that I don't like. That's the bit that lets it down. To me, for the first 80 minutes, I was fully invested. Fully invested in it, and was looking at the 3.5 range.
Yep.
I gave it a 3 because I thought it's like you wanted to hit a homer, but you hit a in the park 3-bagger. It's close, but it's not quite there. And it's that end that lets it down.
Yeah. I would agree.
Among some bad special effects and some things where, and I'll really get to this. I'll dig into this as we go into it, because there's something I need to say about Freddy that I didn't think I would have said.
Something you got to get off your chest.
I've got to get it off my chest. I mean, piece of shit is not what I'm trying to get off my chest. But what I'm trying to say is that there's something about Freddy that I felt like even after I'd watched this previously, I wouldn't have said.
Not piece of shit, but a couple of grievances to air.
I've got some air.
Got to air about.
Correct.
This is where, obviously just recently coming off Halloween Ends and the discussions about how, taking a big swing as a filmmaker. This is proof for me. I've got no issues with that, because you can't take much bigger swing than what they took here.
Correct.
But this one still managed to have a cohesive story, and we didn't fucking wrestle Freddy in the sewers and things like that.
Only.
So yeah, I think this is kind of like a nice counterpoint to that for me, because
correct.
It's if people tell me Halloween Ends is great because they took a swing, I'm like, no, it's you can still do that.
I appreciate the swing.
Have a cohesive story, something that fits with the films before, and doesn't necessarily kind of forget about them. Yeah, it may have some issues with them, but the way that it kind of makes its differences don't necessarily shit all over them. And
and look, Halloween Ends is the direct opposite for me.
Yeah,
I appreciate the fact that they took a swing. Yeah, and I appreciate the fact they went for something totally outside of. But they fucked it up.
But just that doesn't make it good.
Yeah, it doesn't make it a good movie. It just they fucked it up. There were angles that could have gone on Halloween Ends that doesn't make it quite so polarising if they'd have taken the approach. All right, straight out of the gate for the likes. Just the whole premise of him coming alive in this script, and that Craven's writing nightmares into the screenplay, and then all that kind of stuff, bringing Freddy into the real world via all this, and having the actual actors play themselves, and all that stuff, and how it impacts on them, how the horror films impact on the kids, and all that stuff. It works really well, and as I said, it's super dense. Like, it's way denser than I would have thought for any of the Freddy pictures.
Yeah, it was a pretty...
It's ballsy. I mean,
pretty ingenious way to bring him back in the face of, we've said the last one was the last movie. It didn't do well critically, but there's still an appetite, So
no, that's right.
As a way to, and I also like, it gives me some good vibes that the filmmaker and the producer kind of buried the hatchet beforehand.
Yeah.
To bring him back into the series.
Well, that's
kind of a nice little. Well, that's what I mean.
Some coin change.
Yeah, but Bob Shea did right. He came back and said, "Let's talk about it." Obviously, he's got the motive to get another Wes Craven picture under the belt, but the fact that he fucking sat down, they had a frank discussion, I believe was how Craven said. It was a frank discussion, and I will go no further than that. But yeah, as you said, some money changed hands. He made right and said, "Let's do it again." I think that adds a nice little kind of backstory to it as well.
Correct, and I think it's nice the way it plays out with those people in it.
Yeah,
specifically.
But it's kind of I mean, it's a creative way to bring him back, but it's also a very good vehicle to talk about some of the ideas that he was going with, which is, to me, is one of the strongest bits of the movie, the stuff that he's getting at. Some of it he doesn't go all the way with, but he constantly brings, you know, there's a handful of themes that are in there that are really strong and handled quite well for the most part.
Yeah, agreed.
So I'm talking about the ideas of, obviously, the actors and the creators living with being attached to something. Someone like Heather Langenkamp being attached to that, and, you know, whenever you're introduced, it's Nightmare on Elm Street, and oh yeah, what else did you do? Fucking no one knows. Like, it's you know, delving into a little bit around the idea of the harm that it can do to children, or supposedly, you know, the harm that some people say children will suffer if they're watching these movies, and Wes Craven's kind of point of view of, well, no, it's the real world shit that you got to deal with rather than the movies that are causing the issues. And then, you know, of course, just in general, the idea of kind of controlling the nightmares by addressing the shit that's going on in real life.
Yeah.
You know, like, all that stuff is really good.
Yeah,
I think some of it's stronger than others, but I think in general, just the fact that he addressed all this shit and put it all in the movie was awesome.
Yeah, and it's directed really well. Like, the guy was 10 years past the original Elm Street, and it shows in the quality of his actual directorial skills. Like, the movie looks great. There's a bit more money to it, and it shows that he could be more. He could do more.
Yeah.
With what he was doing, but the film has a really good sheen too. It looks great, and I appreciate that. I think that shows the growth as a filmmaker, and no surprise, Scream. It was the peak of his powers, so to speak, which came two years later, I think.
Yep, 2 years.
Scream.
Vampire in Brooklyn was wedged in between, I believe.
Was it?
Yeah.
Fucking hell! How did he get the job?
I actually read a little bit about that, and it turns out like Eddie Murphy was a bit of a Craven fan.
Yeah.
So he got Craven on board thinking this guy's going to make it scary, and Craven came on board and thought, great, I get to do something different, make it a bit funny. Yeah. And so he wrote out different ideas.
Oh, fucking hell. So Orson Murphy was involved in that one, wasn't he? The opening dream sequence with the glove coming alive, really cool.
Yep.
I really like that.
And the way that it sort of starts with the original's beginning of kind of constructing the glove and stuff like that.
And then the way it just, they think it's not working, and then it cuts him on the hand, and then it suddenly just goes apeshit and starts chasing him around.
Yep.
I thought that stuff really worked out well. Good way to set the tone.
Yeah, it was cool.
Creepy, and then it's a dream sequence, So I like all that. Really liked all that, and the fact that it came in, she came back in, and there was an earthquake. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's something I really love, is having that kind of stuff in the background.
Yeah.
The earthquakes constantly, the whole idea that she'd been stalked, being an additional little sort of pieces that sort of worked around with the Freddy mythology that they still had.
Yeah. And again, adding backstory, right, that they took the stalking stuff from real life.
Yeah.
But as Wes Craven points out, he says it kind of started to happen after a fucking bland sitcom, and it was after that, not the horror movie, that it kind of kicked up.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't
which
it?
he kind of says is like ironic, really. But the earthquake stuff too, the fact that he'd written it into the script, and then the earthquake happened just around the time the shooting begun.
Yeah.
Which gave him the opportunity, and obviously it was a pretty dramatic sort of situation and pretty full on, but it gave him the opportunity to get all this background stuff that really kind of sends that home. Yeah, because they're using the earthquakes to kind of mix in with Freddy coming back. The fact that she's driving around and all that shit is falling apart, and it actually adds a bit of weight to it, and adds a bit of weight to the whole, you're not safe where you think you're safe and all that sort of stuff. And
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I really liked the talk show sequence.
Yeah, that was really good. And
the fact that she kind of looks at him as he's doing all this, and it's in slow motion. It looks like that whole "you are all my children now."
Yes.
I thought that was a really nice touch.
Yep.
Because that's actually from part 2, is it not?
And also talking about, things that they've actually done. Like getting posed those questions on talk shows themselves.
Yeah.
Robert Englund basically doing what he fucking does at conventions and shit, and carry it on. And, I thought that was really good, that sequence. And as you said, it kind of kicks things off with with Heather Langenkamp kind of starting to... There's this unease there before it's really started to get into full gear.
It also shows a bit of the fandom. You know, the fandom into Freddie and the whole thing with the limo driver saying, oh, yeah, I get to meet the stars and all that sort of shit. Yeah. The sleazy limo driver and all that kind of stuff, and how the kids love that shit, you know?
Wes Craven actually pointed out that if you look at it, it's like all the kids dressed up as Freddie and cheering and stuff like that, and then a bunch of kind of parents, a bunch of kind of clearly a lot older people sitting near them. And he kind of said that's exactly what it's like. When we did those talk shows, you had the people that were there kind of, you know, wagging the finger. And then you had their kids kind of, as soon as England came out, go, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was quite a cool scene. The dream sequence of Chase falling asleep and dying in the car. I thought that works out nicely.
Yep.
Just to see the glove, the finger knives come out of the seat, and then they leap up and... Yeah. And then it's obviously seen as a crash where he fell asleep at the wheel. Mm-hmm. And all that stuff's kind of peppered in there with him kind of... And then trying to fucking stay awake, singing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I dig that.
I really liked that, and I actually thought that scene was pretty well done.
And he had a fucking ball scratch double.
Did he?
Apparently,
he wasn't prepared to scratch his own nuts on camera.
No,
because fuck.
I watched it on Never Sleep Again. I watched the chapter on New Nightmare. And he goes, yeah, they cut it, they fucking filled in this little shot of scratching my nuts, and it wasn't even me. And then Craven starts giggling and goes, yeah, we just thought we'd add that in, but he'd finished up by then, so we got someone else to scratch his nuts. And then the guy in the film starts pretending he's upset and starts going, Wes, that is not how I would scratch my nuts. This is how I do it. And stand up and start scratching his nuts on the camera. So
I thought you were going to say he was too fucking shy to scratch his own balls on
I'm
camera.
not going to scratch my nuts.
I was thinking to myself, you could get me during lunch scratching my fucking nuts.
You'd say, I'm not going to scratch my balls on camera, and then 2 seconds later you'd catch me just, oh shit, is that rolling? Fuck.
The director would be like, don't worry, there'll be fucking plenty of material. Just wait him out. There's plenty of material. That stuff where she turns up to see Chase's body at the hospital, there's something really uneasy about that.
Yes.
There's corpses on fucking gurneys in the hallway. It feels like it's meant to be a dream.
Yeah, I thought she was going to start looking at him. There was a second where I was like, because I hadn't seen it in a while, I'm like, did she start lifting him up? And I was ready to start saying, Jesus, have some respect for the dead.
Yeah, come on. I've got a dislike for that entire sequence. It involves respect for the dead as well.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see Kenny working the morgue before he picked up his camera gig for Gail Weathers too.
That's right.
Obviously had a few bills to pay at the time. But yeah, it's again, I think it's just a combination of the kind of...
There's something uneasy about the way it's shot.
Put together, the lighting, the way that Craven shot it. I think it all works pretty well.
Really good scene. Not what I expected at all. Because I thought she was asleep again. Well, I thought she's fucking asleep.
Well, that's the strength of the movie.
That's why they do it.
We're bleeding the whole asleep awake thing with real life movie.
And I think that actually works really well for the whole awake asleep.
It does. Indeed.
Ideal.
Yep.
that the other films used as well.
Yes.
The funeral scene when we kind of first see Freddie.
Mm-hmm.
But the creepier bit is Chase. How he kind of falls towards her and his eyes are bleeding and he says something like, stay with me.
Yes.
Like, that shit's weird. Like, it's very much not quite what I anticipated.
Yeah. The thing I like about Freddy in that sequence is it's at the part of the movie where they're not overdoing it and it's working really well. Mm-hmm. Like, you only see him for a couple of seconds and then the glove and then it's, as you said, it's Chase. And Freddy's only there for probably 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You know? That stuff really works. And also, you know, you get the cameos in there from...
Who was in there? Nick Corey.
Nick Corey.
He's definitely there.
Well, goes by... Jesus Garcia now. Nick Corey was a stage name.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So Tuesday Night, I think, was in there.
Oh, okay. I didn't see her.
But yeah, I'm disappointed we didn't get Up Yours or something. Even just a
quick... Up Yours! The twirling lawnmower!
Get that guy out of here. It's not appropriate.
Yeah, he's just fucking screaming from a distance.
Yeah, but that was again, just shot in an uneasy kind of way where you're constantly thinking, are we in the dream? Are we not? Are we, like that again, much like the scene at the morgue, same sort of setup.
Yeah. The scene where Dylan climbs the top of the rocket ship, and then he actually says to her, "God wouldn't take me."
God wouldn't take me. Yeah. Which I
thought was kind of, again, that kid's a creepy kid.
Yeah, and he's, for an actor of his age, I reckon he still stands out as one of the most memorable ones.
He was in Pet Sematary.
He was in Pet Sematary and this, and was always quite good and quite creepy. And even when he's doing the voice, it sounds a bit like Donald Duck. I was still kind of like, it's still a little bit creepy. But yeah, and I think that, tied in with his dad singing Losing My Religion and stuff like that. I think Wes Craven was tossing themes in there of your faith and figuring out that your prayers aren't answered all the time and shit like that. That was a thing. It doesn't seem to be
dropped pretty quick.
It wasn't touched on a lot, but in terms of coming back to her saying, you gotta pray to God or whatever, and him saying God wouldn't take me, that was fucking very, very effective.
And then not long after that, in the next scene or whatever, we learn from Robert Englund that he hasn't told me about the script, but he mentioned something about he's up to where Dylan reaches for God or something, tries to touch God.
Yep.
And so you realise that the script is at the same spot of where things are happening. So I like that. It's just, again, it sort of showcases that this meta angle that's really heavily invested in it.
Again, felt like something they could have played with a little more.
Yeah, a little bit,
But yes.
They do use it enough. Like it's in there enough to be sort of successful in what it's trying to do. But yeah, a little bit more interest, because that's an interesting angle that the script is kind of writing itself.
Yeah, and the bit where they're having the conversation and Craven's standing next to the computer, and they finish the conversation, and you see that conversation on the page of the computer. Yeah, as you said, it was quite well handled as it was. But
a little bit more might have fleshed
another, just a little more.
Freddy's glove cutting through the bed and then hovering over her while she's asleep.
Yep.
Thought that was cool. Again, it sort of had a little bit of that stuff from the first film.
Yep.
Like the bathtub and that.
Yeah.
A little bit like that.
Certainly did.
We finally see him when he bursts out of the closet and says, "Miss me."
Miss me.
Which was a nice way to introduce him.
Yes, and at that point, it's more Freddy, without the wisecracks, trying to go for, take it back to the original where he's not so much making gags.
Yeah. And again, he hasn't been seen for an hour.
Yeah.
We barely have seen him.
Mm-hmm.
We know that he's there, we know that there's something wrong, but we don't see him at all. But in that early period.
Yep.
Which I think is effective. It's better to have so much of him.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like the film didn't necessarily need him.
No,
deeply
I think,
at that point.
Like, I felt maybe a touch more, but I thought the points where they used him were excellent. Especially, probably my next the babysitter.
Yep.
When she gets killed.
Dragging out the wall.
And you kind of go back to the original, but you see Freddy this time.
And I love the way he sort of stands up behind her and he kind of fucking towers over her for a second. And the kid goes, "Look behind you," and she looks and there's nothing there.
Yeah, and he's flashing in and out.
Yeah,
which is kind of, they're calling back to that scene pretty clearly. But in the original, we didn't see him doing what he's doing in this one, so it's kind of a nice way to take that and just make it a little different, or take it a little further. I very much enjoyed that.
I thought the road crossing was pretty well done, apart from some shitty VFX there at times.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it was reasonably exciting.
Yeah, it was
intense. It sort of throws in a bit of action, which is not Wes's forte, but it's handled well enough.
Yes, definitely. You just mentioned it there. It feels like most of the practical effects are all right.
Yeah.
Some of the CGI ones are a little off. I feel like
$8 million budget. I mean, fuck.
Yeah, I've got some negatives, but I feel like in general, as you said, you take the budget into account. I think the practical effects for that sort of era and that budget
Not bad.
In general, I've probably got to have them in the likes.
Yeah, I agree.
Not strong, kind of like, you know, Tom Savini-esque.
No, but they're good. They're decent.
Good enough for really some effects-heavy scenes.
Yeah, agreed. And he pushes the envelope.
Yeah.
He's got more money, but it's still not big money.
No.
So I appreciate the fact that he pushes that a little bit further.
Indeed.
I think this is my favourite sequence in the film, is when she starts talking to John Saxon, and he starts calling her Nancy, and then she says, "Why are you calling me Nancy?" You know, why? And he's like, "Why are you calling me John?" And then the next sort of, we cut away for a second. They're both dressed like they were in the first film.
Yep.
And he's wearing the police badge.
Yep.
That's fucking awesome.
And that it starts to look a little different.
Yeah.
It looks a bit like the first film.
And then we turn around and the fucking house is there.
The music comes in, 1428.
I was like, that is really, really cool.
That was excellent. And that was, I think, the peak of the whole asleep awake movie, real life.
Yeah.
I thought that was excellent.
That was well played. And then while that's happening, as she's heading back into the house, Freddy's birthing out of the bed.
Yeah, and she kind of accepts the role, and that's the point where he kind of
comes in. Yeah,
he's in.
And that stuff's really cool, where he comes out of the bed and then he gets out, and you know, they kind of, the music swells,
the theme
and shit, we see his hand.
Yeah,
like that, really, really well done. I think that's the pinnacle of the picture. Like at that point, I was like, "Fuck, I'm fully on board here."
Yeah, that was the point where I was thinking, this is charging towards a 4-star effort for me.
But then
didn't quite get there. Yeah. I actually think, say what you will about the last section.
Yep.
But his lair as a whole is a pretty impressive feat of kind of design.
Oh yeah.
For the fact that most of it was actually there.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive what they've put together again on a
slim budget.
Slim budget.
And I think that I had no issues with the lair, because to me, that was kind of what he was saying, that Freddy was like folklore or...
Yeah, and I think they actually did, you know, this is the stuff...
Fairy tale.
This is the stuff that you don't see. I believe they actually did do a lot of research on early kind of art and poetry and things like that to get the whole concept of hell and what hell was in different cultures and different stories, and actually added a bit of that.
And actually, they had really spoken about fairy tales, Grimm's fairy tales and shit like that before.
Yeah, which I've got something to say on. Again, another one of the things I think turned out pretty well. But yeah, I think, you know, when you see 2 seconds of that, like the water, for example, I believe they went back to like Dante's Inferno and I can't remember the name of the guy, but poems that described hell basically, and they came back to this idea that you kind of got thrown out there into water, which is why that actually happens and stuff like that. So you know, when you get a bit of that backstory, you kind of appreciate the lengths they went to. Again, I don't think that means the sequence works by any stretch, but just looking at it and seeing a few behind-the-scenes shots of what they actually put together, you're like, fuck, they've done a fair bit of work there.
Production design, fantastic.
Yeah.
But, again, I didn't have an issue with the lair, because I felt like they were going in a different direction as to what Freddy was.
Yep.
So it wasn't a boiler room, it wasn't, you know...
Yeah, it wasn't a boiler room, but it had things that fit that kind of aesthetic.
But we knew that this was a slightly different version of Freddy. So I accepted that quite well. The issues more come down to the... I'll get to it. Well, performance.
We'll get in there.
Some of the things in there that I didn't like.
Well, look, we've got a bit of digging to do.
I really like the fact that she enters that via his bed.
Yes, yeah.
Like, I thought that was cool, because I had that sequence before, rotates back, where he says that, you know, the little dinosaur protects him.
Connects to the kid and the impacts on the kid.
I mean, all that stuff was really good. It came back around to what they'd spoken about previously.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really, really good.
Yeah.
And I liked the whole, you know, take the tablets.
Yes.
As you go down.
Like the breadcrumbs in the story and stuff.
Again, really cool.
Yep.
The last thing for me, because... as I said, I've got issues with the finale, is just the ending where the script is there.
Yeah.
And he says, read to me. And she reads it to him. I thought that was, again, a nice way to kind of bring it all the way back.
Yeah.
Finish it.
It kind of ties up her acceptance of this is not such a bad thing being in these movies as an actor and
allowing him to hear about it rather than stopping him from watching the films and all that sort of stuff.
Which then kind of also comes back to Craven's commentary on censorship and
because there's a really cool instance in the hospital where the doctor says to her, "Has he been watching your films?"
Yeah,
and she's like, "No, his father just died."
And that character was named after the head of the MPAA.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I like that. Again, it was pointing out that that's not the trauma.
Yeah,
The trauma is his father's just died.
Yeah, correct.
But you're mixing this up. You're saying that seeing these horrible movies...
Yeah.
These horror movies...
And he's having, like, a breakdown, essentially, but she's pinning it all on... Oh, he
watched one of your movies.
Saw your film, aren't you? That actor, yeah. And so I think her reading the script is Craven's kind of stance on... No, you sort out it's the real life. You look after the real life stuff. And I know he's very strong on...
censorship.
It comes out very clearly. Like, his idea is that cultures previously, and humanity in general, have always processed, scary stuff and things that are tough to deal with in art and movies and stories and stuff like that. Which comes back to the Hansel and Gretel, right? I believe when you see the book, the Hansel and Gretel, she's got red and green stockings, like Freddy's sweater.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of saying, this demon, it's taking a form. And obviously, when you get to Freddy's lair, the parallels are there, that it's essentially the same thing. Like, Freddy is the witch, right? Like, every culture, every era's got
has always had
boogeymen, which is a way to help us process shit that scares us and control it a little bit, which... comes down to exactly what Freddy is in the movie, right? Which I think the ending, reading the script, just ties that up really neatly. Yeah. So I love the fact that she sat down with the script and started reading. I thought it was just a really nice touch and a really good way to end it.
Yeah.
I had a couple more. Just mentioning the old players again. We spoke about a couple of them briefly, but it was just nice to have them in this kind of piece. Miko Hughes, who, as we said, has kind of found his own place from being in this movie and in Pet Sematary, he's in a similar position, right? Can probably, not necessarily getting as much high-profile acting work, but can still kind of go and do the convention circuit and things like that. I think Heather Langenkamp, her acting performance is far better than the original.
Oh, of course, yes.
She is really, really good, and I think perhaps that has to do with that she's fucking processing some of this shit.
Yeah, agreed.
In real life.
And look, this was sort of like the tail end of her career, wasn't it? This was the end of pretty much
the end of Elm Street for her to this point.
But I think even her career, she stepped away from it.
Yeah.
Not long after that.
Yeah.
Because I think her husband might be a real effects man.
Guy,
yeah. So they went into that sort of side of the productions and stuff like that.
Yep.
But yeah, I think she's good.
I thought her performance was
Saxon.
Excellent.
Saxon's the guy for me.
Talk about trustworthy.
You can trust Johnny Sax, mate.
As Robert Englund mentioned, the bloke had been fucking through about 4 renaissances by this point. Was working with Tarantino, come back with Wes Craven.
I love him.
Doing a bit of everything.
He has that sort of fatherly quality about him when he's John Saxon.
He does
in the film.
Yep.
And then when they switch it back to him being Nancy's father,
yep,
it's still there. You still feel a bit like it was 84.
Correct.
So I it's great to see John Saxon. I think he's a really big positive for me.
Yeah. And I've saved this one for last because I don't think it's possible to put it all in the likes. I think there's portions that I would put in the likes and portions that are firmly in the dislikes. Mm-hmm. The redesign
of Freddy.
I love the coat.
I think the coat's great.
I like the coat. I think that's a good look. He actually looks bulkier too. He looks a bit kind of...
A bit thicker?
More menacing, a bit thicker. Looks like
he looks like
looks like he's buying all the protein shakes.
He looks like a flasher in hell. Yeah. Go give me a bag of lollies. Yeah, that sort of bullshit. But no, the coat works well.
Take a look at this.
Yeah, the coat.
Just go away, Freddie.
The coat works really well.
Yeah,
I think. But to me, it's the only good addition.
Well, see, I don't mind...
Because he seems to have long boots on.
No. Well, I don't mind the clean sweater and the green hat.
Oh, yeah.
I think they actually look
because his sweater's not all ripped up.
His sweater's not all ripped and burnt, which comes back to the the demon is kind of has enjoyed being Freddy and wants to kind of stay that way, but obviously there's their own touches to it. I know some people hate that, but for me, I thought the clean sweater and the green hat
fine.
Looked good.
And the jacket?
We'll hold on
the other parts. I agree that those things kind of do work.
Yep.
For Freddy, and they give him a little bit more presence in some of the sequences when he appears.
Yeah. Well, fuck, he wears the coat better than the Creeper, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Alright, so dislikes, Jared.
Dislikes. Do we go into the redesign elements?
Yeah, immediately.
Nice little segue.
The glove is fucking awful.
The glove looks terrible.
I believe Craven is quoted as saying he made a mistake.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
For number one, the
why would you have the blade on your thumb?
I mean, I believe it made it difficult for England as a performance to have the fucking blade on.
Surely when your fucking performer says, this doesn't seem right, that you might take it off.
But there's one sequence where, I think it's one of the ones where the glove is coming out of, I don't think it's the one where it's in Heather Langenkamp's bed. I can't remember exactly where it is, but there's a sequence where the glove's coming out and they show it from the front and the back a couple of times. It looks awful.
Yeah. It's, what is it? It's not robotic.
No, it's
that's
bone.
The first one, but it's like bone. And
it's like bone coming out of his fingers, but you see like it kind of looks like veins, but they end up looking like wires.
It sucks.
Okay,
it sucks.
Fair enough.
Like, everything about that sucks.
Yeah, not happy with that. Not happy with
why not stick with what you know? That glove is iconic.
Well, I could have done with it being the kind of robotic one that they, in the start, attacked him.
I couldn't have.
Well, I could, but I'm not saying that that's better than the original or anything, but compared to the bone one, I would have preferred the one that attacked him at the start.
There were problems with that glove. When you're redesigning a character like this, it feels a little bit like Craven maybe wanted to distance a bit further from the other sequels.
He did.
Perhaps. And maybe he just kind of got that wrong. But the makeup's no good.
But he could have distanced, like you distance with the coat and the hat, and that looks alright.
But the glove should be exactly the same.
Yeah. I think it was such an iconic part that if you want to do that, then you've got to still have the metal blades and stuff, but just beef it up in some way. Make it look cleaner and slicker like you did with the coat and suit.
The makeup's no good. Like, I think the makeup's no good. To me, you hire Kevin Yeager. You get Kevin Yeager back to do the type of
but Kevin Yeager says, what's your budget? And then he goes, ooh.
$8 million?
I don't know.
Kevin's got time.
But around that time, there's a couple of other projects probably throwing their money around.
Probably, but what I mean is Kevin Yeager's version of Freddy is probably the most iconic one between 2, 3, 4.
It's. I don't think it's a makeup issue. I think the makeup could have worked. I think it's a concept design. The fact that they went from, okay, well, he's not going to be burnt now because he's having this kind of
he's kind of
idea
like
of what he wants to be.
His face
so
is
it's
torn.
supposed to be that his skin is like tearing apart, which, I mean, okay, but when you look at it,
quite work.
it just doesn't quite work as well.
Which is disappointing.
Yeah,
because that's the important part of the Freddy thing, and I felt this film would have still carried very well even if you just gave Freddy the similar look that you had given him previously.
Yeah, but the big ticket item. Who the fuck who thought Freddy should wear leather pants?
Fucking Freddy Idol. Fucking Jesus Christ. And fucking knee-high boots.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy was fucking auditioning for Kiss.
we watched Brain Scan and we said, this is a fucking cut-rate Freddy. And then Freddy decides, I'll take a couple of fucking fashion tips from the trickster. No, you shouldn't.
You bloody fucking... What was the thing that his mate called him in Brain Scan?
Oh, fuck, yeah. I can't remember.
Sausage dick. You fucking sausage dicks.
Freddy's got a fucking burnt sausage dick.
No, this time it was a ripped dick. Sausage
it's
dick.
already uncomfortable. You put leather strides on, especially in that heat. Come on, you're in hell for fuck's sake.
He is chafed up like you wouldn't believe.
You're wearing board shorts, Freddy.
Okay, the film's probably too long by Maybe 10
10
minutes.
to 15, yeah.
I think there's a bit of sag in the middle. There's a bit of sag.
There's
and
a
you
little
could
bit
have
of
probably tightened it up.
And I think it's also a little bit... It kind of is pulled in a couple of directions. We get a couple of sequences with Miko Hughes. We get a couple of sequences of Freddie and just, directly with Heather Langenkamp. We kind of feel split between those two things in the middle. They don't feel cohesive.
And a little bit of tighter editing and saying, well, we don't need some of this. We just chill a bit of that out. That would have been...
You getting on Patrick Lucio there?
Patrick.
Tighten up your editing.
Patrick. Fuck, mate. We've talked about this. And some of your other films. All right, so... the non-actors...
Yeah.
Fucking non-actors.
I think it's fair to say Wes certainly did his best work behind the camera.
Oh, definitely.
And Bobby Shea did his best work far away from the set.
You know what? I believe Bob Shea is a fucking leather-clad idiot. The game bar in part 2.
He's more convincing as a leather-clad bartender than he is as Bob Shea. Work that out.
There's a bit in the fucking thing with Bob Shea where the phone rings and it's supposed to be kind of scary.
Yeah.
And Bob's fucking reaction to that phone ring is just...
It's like he's holding a fart.
It's horrible.
I read it. There was about 10 pages in that Wes Craven book that I've got about New Nightmare. He said it was an interview with the author, I think, and he said Bob Shea saw the dailies and started tossing around reshoots after he saw his own performance.
Well, you know what? I appreciate the fact that Bob saw it and went, fuck. Oh, shit. But you know what? Toss him a fucking gimp suit. The bloke's he's putting on a performance worth looking at.
I mean, toss him a gimp suit and he fucking comes out of his shell, but in the cupboards in his own office. You can't ask him to act convincingly
I
like
mean, if
himself.
I went with Craven, I'm just there going, Bob, fuck. You got act like a human.
Yeah.
And then you've got Sarah Risha. She's only in it for a second, but still, there's nothing convincing about any of that.
No,
Craven's not much good.
No.
And I feel like I would have cast them. I would have given them the same names.
I said, Bob, can we get someone that fucking looks like you to come in for a day?
Anyone. So that stuff kind of pulls you out of it. Because they're not very good actors, it pulls you out of the actual stuff that they're selling you at the start. Which is disappointing. Because that stuff's good. It's good stuff.
It is. Bob Shea. Jeez.
And, we talked about that scene in the morgue. I mean, talk about having some professionalism. You're fucking carving some guy up with a fucking saw in front of her.
And then saying, can I help you while you're mid-saw? And then fucking
wouldn't you be going, get the fuck out of here, you shouldn't be saying this.
Yeah, and the other bloke, Kenny's eating a sandwich while the other bloke's hacking away.
Is he putting it down on a piece of greaseproof paper?
If it's Smoko, we're all on Smoko, because I don't want blood on my fucking sandwich. Okay.
Yeah. Don't fucking send that shit over here. Like,
I didn't ask for extra meat.
Yeah, I hope morgues don't run like that.
No,
legitimately, you have to go to a front desk.
Yeah,
and be allowed in.
And there's a lunchroom.
Yeah, there's a lunchroom, and nobody's being carved up in front of an audience.
Correct.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we missed the deleted scene where he said, can we get a fucking front desk? Because I'm sick of this happening.
Anything at all. Don't just let it walk straight in. The line, hey, Dylan, ever play Skin the Cat? Oh, my God. You cut that. Like, there is no reason for that.
Is it Robert Englund's fault?
No, it's the fact that they had taken Freddie back to a base of being a scary proposition.
You need to bounce those lines off. Like, I remember there was the old story about The Simpsons, how they used to write an episode and they'd throw a gag in. And when it went through all the writers' rooms and rehearsals and stuff, people stopped laughing at the gag, well, the gag was cut.
Yeah.
I feel like Freddy's lines are like that.
Correct.
Some of them just get to the end and you think, nobody's listened to this and said, cut it.
Yeah. And
Maybe
I feel
that was
like
one.
Craven's a guy who would have cut this. It feels not really in keeping with what he was doing, what he was wanting.
Nah.
So, yeah, I couldn't stand... I hated that.
Yep.
Some of the visual effects of Freddy in the clouds...
Yeah. That wasn't good.
I thought I was watching Freddy's Dead.
Yeah. Look, that was one of my exceptions to having the effects in the positive.
Yeah.
The other one was when the glove's coming through the chair. The glove looks alright, but there's computer effects to make it look like it's kind of going through water almost on the seat.
Yeah.
Shocking. And I mean, very early in the piece for this stuff, but it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
That one would fit in there. And... yeah, I think I mentioned the one. I think it is actually when Heather Langenkamp's asleep. But the glove coming out is where you get a good look in front and behind the glove, and that really hurts.
Because it's hanging over her like that.
It doesn't look good at all. But yeah, the large Freddy over the highway was the shottiest bit. Because I think they even made a massive the finger that
it is actually
was actually a massive finger. Yeah. So again, the practicals win the day, and all the Freddys coming up on the other side. Yeah, I liked that because they didn't again. It was quick enough that you didn't get good looks at faces and stuff like that.
So, some of that VFX didn't work, but again, it was 1994.
Yep.
So I'll cut that a little bit slack.
I've got another bad line too, which is early in the movie.
Huh?
I think it's after the first earthquake. They have the aftershock in the kitchen, and then the babysitter comes in, and Heather Langenkamp says, "Did you just feel an aftershock?" And the babysitter says, "Oh no, a big truck just went by the house." I thought,
how big? Was it a tank?
Exactly. I thought to myself, like, why didn't they just have her say, "No, I don't feel anything"? Like,
yeah.
You sit there going, "Do you think I'm
a fleet of tanks just drove by?"
Yeah. You think I'm a fucking moron that I don't know the difference between an earthquake and a fucking truck driving past the house? Like, have some sense, woman.
Yes, exactly. Just say what? No, I was looking for it.
Yeah. Yep. Just cut that bit short.
So this is what I'm getting off my chest.
Okay.
Right?
Well, I can't wait. Is this where you get Luke's back up?
No, I'm not quite Luke's camp here. But
okay.
I think that this proved that Freddy just could not be scary anymore. The reason I say that is because the really good stuff from Craven, as far as unsettling and unnerving, has nothing to doesn't have Freddy in it. It's the way he shoots, it's what he goes for, it's the way he kind of manipulates the whole real life movie angle, dream thing.
Yeah.
But
I think
Freddy
in this particular
unfortunately,
form,
in this form, but I think in general, Freddy was scary.
Yep.
84 through 87, but then he became not scary, and unfortunately we kind of lost it.
Well, see, I disagree slightly because I think Freddy could still be scary.
He could, but I'm just saying, in the hands of the people who were shepherding him at that time, right?
I feel like you're circling around in the hands of Robert Englund.
No, not Robert Englund specifically, but we'll get to Robert.
No, yeah.
But the reason I mean,
I think
they were shepherding it this way. They were close.
They were close,
but the problem is even Craven couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because, for example...
Well, when you choose to put him in leather pants, you fuck things up from the get-go.
You put the guy in leather pants. You put him in high boots. Yes, I know you were going for a aesthetic and a look to Freddy that was different, right?
But were you going for a good look?
No, you weren't.
A scary look?
Robert Englund...
Look, I am...
There is no...
Being a little facetious, I do love Robert Englund.
I love him. I love the
But I think he...
Like a brother. Like, fuck. I grew up on the guy. The guy raised me partially with JBJ and a couple of others. My own parents had nothing to do with it. Tim Busfield.
Tim Busfield in the fashion department.
Tim Busfield was my stylist. But the problem with England was, and you know what? I don't want to say this because I think people would hail me down, but I could have felt a recast here would have worked.
Well, you know what I think would
Because
have been better?
you were talking about a different Freddy from a different mythology.
This kind of feeds into one of my dislikes, is we just lose England. He disappears.
Yeah.
I actually think, and I've heard some, ideas tossed around about how it could have worked, but...
You couldn't find him? But he had become Freddy?
But no, I think you go with... Yes, it's Heather Langenkamp's movie, but I think there's room for him. Like, why do we not explore as much the impact that Freddy's had on him? Because he's in exactly the same boat. I mean, was there a chance to have fucking Freddy killing Robert Englund?
Yes. That would have been cool.
In a gruesome kind of manner, like some kind of thing. And, I haven't brought into it in the commentary like someone as clever as Wes Craven could have. But I feel like, because here's the example, right?
Well,
in the Never Sleep Again doco,
character killing creator,
in the Never Sleep Again doco, they briefly mention and show concept art for a sequence that Craven had written where he's being driven in a van by Michael Berryman and he's cut his own fucking eyelids off.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, why didn't we get there?
Yeah.
Because we didn't see the impacts of everyone else. We got the sense that, Freddy's got an impact on Bob Shea, Robert Englund, and Wes Craven, but we didn't see it bar, the look on my face when you say Freddy's in my dreams and you go, ooh.
Or the look on your face when the phone rings.
Yeah, and I'm like, this could have done with, like, when there was little bits of Freddy, when we're ramping up.
We could have killed Craven. We could have killed Englund. I think that would have been great.
Yeah, especially, like, I sit here and I think the parts that exactly what you're talking about, that Freddy wasn't particularly scary. The fact that Wes Craven turns up with his own eyelids cut off and we just attribute that to Freddy, I'm like, woof, that ramps up the fear.
And it builds the stakes for Langenkamp. So, yeah, there's a little bit of a missed opportunity there.
Yeah, I feel like the sequence of Freddy Krueger dealing with Robert Englund in some way is a big missed opportunity.
Yeah. I'm not knocking Englund, his performance here, because, he's not in it very much.
No, and he is pretty... He's
okay.
Solid as
He's
Freddy.
okay.
Again, he didn't write the lines.
And he's not overdoing it.
No.
Like he'd done in previous ones.
Yep.
But one of the issues with Freddy, and this is where Craven falls down as a director, which I'm surprised by.
Yep.
Because the two versions that he was previously involved in are the darker takes. From both a material perspective, but also a lighting perspective. Those films are shot darker. They're lit differently. This one, when we hit the finale, it's overlit to the shithouse.
Yeah, your budget goes further if you're using less lights, Wes.
Exactly.
The electricity
Fuck,
bill goes
mate,
down.
and guess what? I can't tell he's got leather dacks on.
Exactly.
Everyone's a winner.
Shining off them.
We all win, Jared. We all win.
Exactly.
But it's overlit. It doesn't create a lot of sort of scariness. I'm not going to lie. Using your tongue and wrapping it around someone's head is not particularly scary to me.
No, I didn't mind the him stretching his head out to like eat the kid.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
That was
except for the tongue going.
Yeah, that was playing into the Hansel and Gretel.
Oh my god, fuck.
That was playing into the Hansel and Gretel, and then I think the long tongue maybe stretches that a little bit to ridiculous levels. But not only that, I made a note of that particular sound when his fucking head opens and we get the. Essentially, he's going, Lana! Fucking doing everything but then when the tongue goes out, we get a kind of, it's not a circus whistle or a honk or something, but something like that. I'm like, Jesus, why do we need that?
But also, when you stab that tongue and then it retracts and then you see Robert Eagle laying on the ground with a fucking forked tongue.
Yeah.
He's going, holy shit. Yeah,
okay.
But this is what I'm talking about. These are things that I would have thought Wes Craven, as the creator of Freddy and being the person who always wanted to have Freddy in the shadows and not sort of not be on display.
Yeah.
He kind of drops the ball.
A little bit.
A little bit.
I think so. I would agree with that.
And then you've got his fucking giant arm.
Yes. I mean, I didn't mind
These
the
guys are
callback.
absolutely enamored with that
I
shit.
know.
aren't they?
I didn't mind the callback, but again, you look at it and you're like, it doesn't look good. Fellas, let's cut that one. Or use whatever you use for the tongue to make the arm move, because the tongue actually looked alright when it was moving and flapping about until he started going.
What though? Fucking again, some lower lighting. We're probably in a pretty good position, aren't we?
Yeah.
So
I also think, considering how over the top that last little bit is, I also feel Freddy sort of goes down pretty easily.
He does. He just catches fire and the whole place blows up.
And I do, as I said, I appreciated the Hansel and Gretel parallel and the fact that it's kind of like, we're kicking the witch into the oven and.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
But there needed to be a fight.
Yeah, I felt like there needed to be a fight coming in. I felt like some of the shit that Craven was spewing about the demon, couldn't we have given a little bit of that to Freddy to talk?
Yeah.
Talk through. I mean, I don't love just spewing exposition, but we spent, like Craven essentially just spent
his whole role
30 seconds on camera just telling us exactly what what everything was all about. I feel like if you're gonna get Freddy to chat, just stop the quips and maybe fucking go into that
showcase
sort of shit.
who
talk about what Nancy is to him or something like that.
And unfortunately, when looking back at this and Freddy and again, I'm not saying we can't make Freddy scary. I'm not saying that can't be done. But we then moved into the remake, which also failed to make him scary for the same fucking reasons.
Yeah.
Everything was overlit.
Bad design.
I
think there was particular lines and stuff from Jackie Earl Haley that probably would have worked out alright if he was able to speak
properly, yes.
Do things like that.
All that stuff showcases that in the hands of other filmmakers, you can run into the same issues.
Yeah, correct.
So it didn't work as well for me, and I was a bit disappointed in Craven because I was kind of like, well, I understand this is a magnificent piece of production design, but you've got to put Freddy in the dark.
Yeah, I think that would have worked better. Light it differently. It's like use some of the blue-ish lighting that we were getting, when in the original when Freddy's walking down. Not Madman style, definitely not Madman style. As far away as you can fucking get from Madman. But when Freddy's walking down streets or corridors, and you would get like the smoke and the blue light in the background, so he would just be a silhouette essentially.
Why couldn't we go down
a bit of that? That would have worked perfectly.
Some of that sort of realm
stuff. And it felt like, I don't know, maybe it was a space thing because we didn't get a lot of shots of full body Freddy down there. We got a lot of
close,
someone walking past and then a hand slipping into frame and like things like that. So I feel like maybe they didn't have the space to be doing the long shots in the set and stuff. But yeah, I agree. I think I don't feel like that was the peak of Scary Freddy, which they were aiming to bring back.
Yes, and they kind of failed a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was my last one. What you said before is Freddy just kind of dies with pretty easy, with not much to it. Yes, I understand. Like you were saying, it harks back to the Grimm's fairy tale and Hansel and Gretel and all that,
and the whole
But it didn't. It was. I mean, she really doesn't take him on.
No. And I mean, when she fucking belts him and says "fuck you," I'm like, okay, we're getting into that. It's on. But it doesn't really go from there.
No.
So yeah, I agree. Also, when he burns and turns into the demon briefly, it looks kind of goofy.
And then the explosion is also, I believe, CGI.
Yep.
So, come on, fella.
I only had one more dislike, and it's I don't know whether to call it a dislike or. So about the part where Johnny Saxon is. I thought you were going to stop me there and say I will not have anything said about John Saxon. But
Be careful.
About the part
Be careful.
Johnny Saxon comes and talks to her at the park.
Yeah.
Watching the full piece, it comes together. That reality and the movie are bleeding together, and that he's essentially is her father from the movie. But at that point, on the back of seeing some of the other people and Bob Shea and that sort of stuff, just for a brief minute there, it felt like we were just playing the hits with the old actors.
Yeah.
And he was in a role he wouldn't have been in. Is Johnny Saxon and Heather Langenkamp really getting together at a park to discuss things like that. Even in the wake of her husband's death or whatever. Okay, down the track when it comes into, it's father and daughter relationship again, and I understand they're trying to mirror that even before, but there was just a hint of this feels unnatural compared to what's been going on. It just stuck out a little bit for me.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because I just couldn't imagine Johnny Saxon turning up and being kind of like the grandfather to the kid who, to this point, we haven't been led to believe that he's been a large part of his life.
All they would have needed is a scene or two at the start, in the early going, or a phone call with Saxon.
Yeah, stick him into the phone calls when she's getting the
he rings.
prank calls.
And he makes a comment about, we catching up at the park this week or whatever. So you're kind of stating that he's around.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel that way. Saxon, we first see him at the funeral.
Yep.
And then
the next thing you see him in this massive role in her life, it felt like that needed to taper up to, like, if that comes after we've seen a little more of Saxon early or a conversation on the phone of that he is in almost like a grandfatherly role to the kid.
But he was having a renaissance, mate. He probably didn't have time.
Correct. He was probably shooting a Tarantino movie.
Picture.
Or an Enter the Dragon kind of retrospective or interview or something.
Was he in a Tarantino movie?
I don't know. Ask Rob in England. I don't recall him being in one. But I wouldn't put it past him.
Well, he's probably in the background or some shit as well. All right. So is that all you had?
That was it, yeah. For the most part, I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, look, I certainly would not. I'd put this as number 3.
Yeah.
Behind the original at 2 and number 3.
Yep.
Part 3 at the number 1 spot.
And look, I feel, Luke warming up, kind of just putting an argument together to fucking drop on me over a bottle of Chivas Regal or something.
Or a couple of, 45 beers and a couple of Smirnoff ices.
Or an expectation of some Canadian clubs before he heads over the esky and says, who the fuck drank all my Canadian clubs? Not me.
But yeah, I would suggest that it is pretty well regarded within the series, in my book. So that was Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Oh, From Dusk Till Dawn. So it wasn't. It was a
that's right, yes,
produced.
Yes. From Dusk Till Dawn. Yes, that's right, and written.
Yep.
Tarantino wrote that.
Yeah.
That's right. He's in a brief bit at the start with Kelly. What's her name? Travolta's wife?
Oh, yeah, Kelly Preston.
Kelly Preston, yeah.
I thought you were going to say Kelly Slater there for a minute, but he's got other things to worry.
Alright, so you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Podomatic. Send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au. We're on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com, and Instagram at thrillmepodcast.au. Keep an eye on the Facebook page for details of the next film that we'll cover. But until then, take it easy, and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.